This movie is based on a true story of 3 men who walked out of Himalaya into India. They had survived a 4,000-mile walk to freedom. This film is dedicated to them. It was September 1939. Hitler invades Poland from the west. Several days later, Stalin invades from the east. They divided the country between them. The main character of this movie is Janusz Wyszczyk. We are shown that after Janusz is imprisoned, a confession of his sins is placed in front of him. He is asked to accept these allegations, but he doesn't. Then the interrogative officer calls Gord to bring witness of his sins. Janusz was shocked to see that it was his wife who was brought to testify against him. He was hurt after watching her physical appearance. He knew she would be tortured to testify against him. Officer asks about Janusz from his wife. She starts sobbing and says, "He is my husband." From his conversation, "I have come to know he hates Communist Party, and especially the leader of the Soviet people, Comrade Stalin." Janusz speaks while crying, "What have they done to you?" She says he has also spied for foreign powers. Interrogative officer asks from Janusz, "Did you accept these allegations?" Janusz says, "No, I will never accept such allegations." Officers says, "Now your wife is eyewitness of your sabotage activities. Do you now confess your sins?" Janusz cries, "What have you done to her?" Then we are seen a Siberian prison, which was just like a hell. Janusz was prisoned here for his sabotage activities. Then at entrance, jail in charge addressed to new prisoners that look around you and understand that your prison is not our guns, dogs, or wires. Rather, this entire Siberia is your prison. All 5 million square miles is your prison. Nature is your jail, and she is without mercy. Then we are seeing Janusz, who was made bald. Then Janusz pick his coat and go to get some food. Food was short to survive and completely devoid of nutrition. Food was so short that people were fighting for getting some extra. Janusz, after watching this moment, gave his food to one of them. An old man who was named as Mr. Smith says, "If you show this mercy again, they will short your meal." Mr. Smith says this kindness will kill you here. Then we are seeing some rascals who were gambling. Basically, they were professional criminals. Then Janusz asks from his new friend Kabarov, "Do any of them wriggle out of the net?" Kabarov says, "No, Janusz, it's impossible. You must be careful. Don't even think about this. If you wriggle these nets, this environment will kill you." Then we are seeing that one of those rascals, who was Valka, starts bullying an innocent prisoner. Valka says, "I need your sweater." That innocent prisoner says, "Please take my coat. But this sweater is necessary for me to survive this harsh weather." Valka's friends starts making fun of him that this little boy's refused to give you his sweater. Valka killed that boy to save his reputation and sell his sweater to pay his loans. Then we are seeing that all the prisoners are working in forest and cutting trees to get wood. Then we are seeing that in room Kabarov come to Janusz and says, "Did these mosquitoes hurt you?" Janusz says, "Yes, they are eating me alive." Kabarov says, "I have a solution for this problem, come with me." He brings Janusz out of barracks and says that, "Are you really serious about getting escape from this hell? I saw a hope in your eyes. I was waiting for a brave person who can help me in wrangling that nets. And you are best one for this companionship." Janusz gets excited and asks Kabarov, "Tell me about your plan." Kabarov says, "My friend is technician. He said to me, if you fails generator, that will take 10 minutes to get repaired. You can cut that wires in 10 minutes. Kabarov says we have to walk with lake towards the border. We have to wait for snowfall, because snowfall will help us by removing our footprints. Kabarov says we have to do this with a complete plan because we have to travel about 4,000 kilometers to get freedom. For this difficult track, we have to store a lot of food." Then we are seeing that some prisoner were coming back from forest to barracks. Only then a snowstorm surrounded them. The wind frees blood of several of them. Prisoners started to die. Then jailer asks them to lay down and wait for last breath. The old man, Mr. Smith, says to jailer, "We should hide ourselves in the forest." But jailer says, "I will kill you if you says one more word." But old man, Mr. Smith, started to go towards forest. The jailer and other soldiers shouted him and warned to shoot, but he didn't care about them. Then jailer thinks it's only way to survive in this snowstorm. Then he says, "Bring all the prisoners for shelter in the forest." There the prisoners made a temporary cottage to avoid blood freezing winds. Then we are seeing that all prisoners are in barracks and jailer willing to punish them for taking shelter in forest. Jailer punished old man Mr. Smith, Janusz and few other. The punishment was that they have to work in mines. The old man Mr. says that might as well have shoot us yesterday, because mines are more panic than death. In mine there were dangerous gases and unbearable temperature. The harmful gases were infecting the prisoners' lungs badly. Janusz was severely breathing. He was about to die in mine. He fell down, but however old man Mr. Smith helped him to survive that day. Janusz says, "I have got to get out of here." He shouts, "I have to get back and run out of mine." The guard was about to shoot Janusz, but Mr. Smith cooled down matter and bring him back to mine. Janusz says, "I have a plan we can get escaped through the wires. Kabarov told me this plan." Mr. Smith says that actor Kabarov is a great shit. He is a liar. He says same words to all new prisoners. He will send you to your death. Mr. Smith says if you are serious to run from here, then I'm with you. Then we are seeing that Kabarov was sleeping in barracks. Janusz come and wake up him and asks to come with him. They come out of barracks. Janusz says this is the time to run. Let's watch this storm. This will remove our footprints. Then Kabarov shows his weakness and says the storm will stop soon and we will be captured again. That is impossible, so forget this plan now. But Mr. Smith and Janusz were fully determined to get rid of this horrible life. They were waiting for Gord's duty-changing moment. Only then Valka, a professional killer, come to Janusz and threaten him with a knife. Valka says nobody can hide any matter from me. Tell me your complete plan, otherwise I will kill you here. In forest you need a knife, and I also need a miracle to get me out of here. Then Janusz says, you can come with us. Then we are seeing that the generator is turned off. Only then guards run towards the wires and release their dogs to kill them. Janusz and his friends runs very fast, but snowstorm made them blind. They were not able to see anything. Then Janusz asks Valka that I need your knife. Janusz makes face mask cover with bark of trees and give it to all of them. Sooner they were out of range of guards and dogs. Mr. Smith was not happy to see Valka here. Baikal Lake was 4 weeks away from them. Then they take shelter in forest, spend their night, and Janusz says we have to collect wood for fire. After some time they all came back with woods, but Kozak was not there. They were worried about Kozak because he has night blindness. All crew members returned back hopeless and slept around the fire. Kazi made a great effort to find his friends and get hopeless and sit down just a few meters away from his crew. In morning, when Janusz and other prisoner get up, they were sad to see that Kazi was sitting just a few steps away from them. But it was too late to rescue. He was freeze completely. They buried him and starts their journey again. Then we are seeing that it was their 20th day when they escaped. They all were sleeping in a cave. Only then Mr. Smith heard a sound. They followed that sound and found wolves who were eating meat of a deer. They attack on wolves and snatch the meat. They were hungry for last 20 days. First they removed their hunger. Then we are seeing that Janusz asks them to stay here in cave, and he will go to search the lake. Then he says to Mr. Smith, don't let Valka out of your sight. He is dangerous for you all. Then we are seeing that Janusz passes through difficult paths, and at one point his condition was such that he was about to die, but he did not lose heart and finally reached the lake. He returned to his companions and tell them that I watched the lake. It is just 3 days away from this cave. They all were happy because that was the last hope for them. Then we are seeing that they all reached to lake. There they breathed a sigh of relief. Only then they were moving towards lake. They heard footsteps. Mr. Smith stopped and focused. They observed that someone following them. They all were scared. They surrounded him from all sides to catch him. But they were amazed to see that that was a girl. The girl was also running to save her life just like them. Janusz says she is from Poland. She is following us from several days. We should ask her to come with us. She needs food and protection. But Mr. Smith and Valka says she would slow down our journey, and we can't afford this. They left her in the forest and moved towards lake. Then we are seeing that they found a gazelle who was about to drown in mud. They took it out and slaughtered to eat it. They started to cook its meat. Only then one of them, Andrade, run back to forest to find and bring that girl. Then we are seeing that Andrade come back and tells to his crew that her name is Irina. Then they all start to eat. Next day we are seeing that they all were worried about crossing the lake. They were getting ready to swim, but only then Irina started to run on the ice present on the lake. Then they all get up and run to cross the lake. Then we are seeing that Mr. Smith was investigating Irina, and Mr. Smith found that she was lying to them. Mr. Smith says, "Don't ever lie to me again." Then we are seeing that they reached near a village. Janusz says, "We will cross that village from outer side from forest." Then we are seeing that they reached a place where mosquitoes attack on them. Barely they escape from this horrible place. Then they stop and take rest there. Irina look after Mr. Smith's foot. It was in bad condition. Finally, they reached Mongolia border, but soldiers were standing throughout the whole border, so they decided to cross the border in night darkness and started to wait. There Zoran started to make fun of tattoo made on the chest of Valka. Valka got anger and attacked on Zoran. Other companions intervened and saved Zoran. It was about to sunset when they crossed the border, but Valka stopped here. Janusz come back to him and says, "They will catch you here, and what's about the freedom?" But Valka says, "I want to stay here." When they reached the Mongolian border, they were shocked to see that it is now communist territory. But they moved forward. Then they looked at a Buddhist temple which was ruined by communists. Everything was burnt inside the temple. They found human skeletons on ground. They were worried about the place where they can find peace and freedom. Then they decided their next destination where can save their lives. So they decided to cross Tibet Himalayas mountain to enter India. India was only place for them where they could find freedom. They started their journey to Tibet. Meanwhile, they were on their way. Some horsemen followed them. They were frightened and very nervous, but they answered their questions with great wisdom and patience. To which horseman said, "Okay, you can go." Then we are seeing Tot. They are staring desert, which was spread as far as the eyes could see. Only then get a sight of some trees. Mr. Smith says, "We should go there. If there are trees, then there would be water also." But Janusz says it's north, and we have to go south. "I think it's an eye mirage. We should not waste our time." But Mr. Smith was adamant to go there, and then they started to fight. Zoran and Tomas ended their fight. Mr. Smith started to move towards trees hints, but Janusz was crying, "It's a mirage, nothing more." They all followed Mr. Smith. Then Janusz had no choice. He also moved towards north. They saw birds were flying there. They run towards the trees. Then we are seeing that was a well. They started to drink water like crazy. Now they found water, but they have no food. That was the major problem for them. Some of them were willing to stay here, but Janusz says, "We have to go to Tibet, and we are wasting our time here." After all, we are seeing that they filled the utensils they have and started the journey again. Soon they were in mid of the desert when they found a sandstorm coming towards them. They run to hide themselves. Then we are seeing it. It's nighttime. They all were broken. In early morning they again started to travel. Irina was looking sick. She was broken inside and fell down on sand. They all run to rescue her. Then they take off her shoes. Her feet were swollen. She was sunstroked. Only then Irina get up and hide her feet. She says, "I'm becoming a nuisance." Then they ask her to take some rest. Then we are seeing that they again started their journey, but she again fell down. They ask her to take rest, but she again started to walk. Then Andrzej Voss moved forward and picked up her. They move only a few meters away. She asked to Andrzej, "Put me on the ground." She was in bad condition. Only then she died. Mr. Smith checked her heartbeat and said she is gone. Then they buried her there and started their journey again. Now Tomas was in bad situation. He showed all his paintings to them, made in jails. Some of the paintings belonged to Irina. They all appreciate Tomas for his great work. But Tomas also passed away that night. They buried him in desert and moved forward. Then Zoran get up in morning. He was amazed to watch a snake moving just on his leg. He silently observed the snake and followed it there. He found some water, then all drank that water. Then they started to search that snake to eat Janusz snake and capture it. They cooked the snake and quenched their hunger. When Zoran gets up, he was amazed to see that Mr. Smith was going that way lonely. Then Zoran shouts and they all run behind Mr. Smith. They were happy to see Mr. Smith, much more stronger than yesterday. Then we are seeing that they found here a mini lake. They quenched their thirst here and take rest and started their journey again. Then it was about sunset. They slept in forest. When Andrzej get up in morning, he was shocked to see that the Great Wall of China was just a few steps away from them. Andrej called Janusz. They enter the Great Wall of China happily. After crossing Great Wall of China, they look the Tibet hills and they lay down there on hill because they were so tired and this Tibet destination was giving them comfort. There a local villager found them and asked them to come with him. He took them to his village. The villagers took care of them and they call their tribal chief there. Tribal chief was also generous. He asked them to stay here for a few months. Because the weather was extreme and in snowstorm, they could never reach to India. Mr. Smith, Zoran and Andrej were ready to stay here. Janusz was forcing them to start their journey again. Janusz think to start his journey alone. Andrej watched him and says to Zoran and Mr. Amith that he has gone. Then Zoran and Andrej also followed him, but Mr. Smith did not come with them because he was willing to go China and then America with US Army present in China. Only then we are seeing that Janusz and Andrej reached India. The people in India were very happy to see them. They gathered around them and start welcoming them. Then we are seeing that the local ministers and police officers welcome them in India. I hope you guys likes this movie. The way back to watch more interesting movies, subscribe this channel.